What's going on, everyone? UFC 299 just took place, and I'm going to talk about, how did the MMA landscape change, after this fight card? It was a crazy fight card. It was stacked from top to bottom. And first thing I want to talk about is Jailton Almeida versus Curtis Blades. Jailton Almeida was doing good. He was taking Curtis Blades down over and over again, rinse and repeat. He was chain wrestling, he was getting him down. I mean, I couldn't expect anything more from him other than maybe a submission. Now, in the second round, he was shooting in a lot of takedowns, kind of doing the same thing. And then one time he shot a super, super sloppy takedown. And Curtis Blades just started hammer fisting the shit out of him. Started hammer fisting the shit out of him. And Jailton Almeida just kind of crumpled. He got brutally finished. Honestly, I think, I think this is going to get blown out of proportion. I don't think this is a terrible loss for Jailton Almeida. Obviously, he was expected to win this fight. Obviously, everyone was expecting him to, rise up the rankings with this win and hopefully become a top contender. But, he still has time to improve. I know he's a little bit older than we would like, but he's a heavyweight. Heavyweights go forever. So, I think he's going to get a little blown out of proportion. People are going to call him a fraud. People are going to call him this. People are going to call him that. But I honestly think this is a perfect learning experience for him. And I think this is going to make him better for his next performance, And as for who he should fight next, I think Sergey Spivak would be a good option, mostly because it's kind of like a Curtis Blades matchup to test how good is your wrestling. Really, will you be able to take down Sergey Spivak? So I'd like to see Jailton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak next. And for Curtis Blades, let's give him a step up. Or not really a step up, but competition-wise. Excuse me. Curtis Blades called out Tom Aspinall. I don't want to see that again. The first time it was a fluke injury. He'd get destroyed the second time. So let's do Curtis Blades versus Alexander Volkov. I think that's a perfect matchup. Striker versus grappler matchup. Heavyweight, Apex card main event or Fight Night main event. Moving on, the next thing I want to talk about is Rebelis de Spain versus Josh Parisian. He KO'd Josh Parisian in 18 seconds on the back foot after falling down. Now, I knew he was going to brutally KO him within 30 seconds, but this was kind of crazy. Josh Parisian, he needs to retire. He needs to either retire or be cut from the UFC because, dude has just been, around for forever, it feels like, and he's had no success. So, cut Josh Parisian. As for Rebelis de Spain, listen, I know a lot of times it's like, well, we don't want to give him too far up of a jump, but I actually would like to give Rebelis de Spain quite a big jump up in competition, considering he's like 36 or something. So, I think, let's give him a jump up in competition. Let's fast track him a little bit. Let's give him the winner of Tuivasa Tybura, which is next weekend. I honestly think that would be a good fight and be able to test, because in this fight, Rebelis de Spain, yeah, he looked good. He KO'd Josh Parisian in 18 seconds. Congratulations, Josh Parisian's a bum. But he looked so open to be hit. His chin was wide up in the air. So I'd like to see him against someone that has a little more experience because I do think Tuivasa is going to beat Tybura. So in that case, that would be a good test to see if he can avoid the power of Tuivasa. Next fight I want to talk about, Mikhail Pereira versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. This was a banger finish from Mikhail Pereira. I did not see him submitting him at all. I thought he was going to KO him. First round submission, looked super strong and powerful. I'd like to see Pereira, maybe I want to see him turn around fast. He mentioned talking about getting on the card at UFC 301 in Brazil. I actually really like that idea. So let's do Mikhail Pereira versus Brendan Allen or maybe a Paul Craig. I think both of those would be banger matchups. Can the striking and submission ability of Mikhail Pereira, for either the submission ability of Paul Craig, that would be very interesting to see on the ground, or can, or not Arnold Allen, sorry, Brendan Allen out-grapple Mikhail Pereira. I'd actually be really interested in the Arnold Allen fight. I think that's a great fight. I think they should just book it. Next card, Mateusz Gamrot versus RDA. I thought Gamrot looked super, like, just looked like a middle tier lightweight in this fight. I was expecting him to at least 30-27 decision RDA, because, I didn't think he was going to finish him. Gamrot's not really known for finishing people, but it's RDA, man. He's 39 years old, going on 40 years old. So I just thought this wasn't a good look. He even got rocked badly by RDA in the first round. So let's give him the Fiziev rematch. Once Fiziev is healthy again, once he's got that ACL recovered, I'd like to see how that fight would really go when both guys are healthy. So, as for RDA, RDA needs to retire, man. I think it's time. I mean, he didn't look terrible in this fight, but I just think once you're getting up to in that age and lightweight, sorry, I said welterweight because he was at welterweight the fight before. You're not gonna have a whole ton of success at getting towards the belt. And I know he's juiced to the gills and has those Brazilian genetics, so he looks like a freak. But I just think RDA's time has come. He had a great career. He fought the who's who. So let's give RDA a good send off fight. Maybe a Bobby Green or something like that after Bobby Green fights at UFC 300 if he doesn't retire. So next fight, I'm not going to talk about all the fights on the card because I'm only going to talk about the not honorable, but the most important fights of the card. Let's talk about Yan versus Yadong. Okay, I'll admit I was wrong. I thought Yadong was going to win this fight. I thought he was going to win the first 2 rounds because of Yan's low output, and then I thought Yan would definitely steal the third. Yan looked great in this fight. He proved that, he still has championship caliber abilities. I think his next matchup should be, relatively a step up. So Marlon Vera lost tonight. I'd like to see Yan versus Vera. I think that'd be a good fight. They're both kind of slow starters. They both have good power. Jan's a little bit more well-rounded. I think it's a winnable matchup, but still kind of intriguing. I'd like to see what happens in that fight. So, yeah, let's do Yan versus Marlon Vera. I think Cheeto, he needs some time off for sure. So I think we should do, and I mean, Yan took some damage too as well. So let's do that in like the fall or like maybe late summer. As for Song Yadong, I thought he looked incredible in this fight. You can critique me all you want. I thought Song Yadong looked incredible because he's 26 years old. He has so much time to improve. If you're looking like that against Piotr Yan at 26, you're going to be a champion someday. That's all I got to say about that. You guys can critique me if you want in the comments because I know I was dead wrong about that. Piotr Yan clearly won that fight. But, I mean, I still think he looked good in the fight. I didn't think he put on a shit performance or whatever. So, yeah, let's give Song Yadong either the winner of Davison Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. I think that would be a good kind of rebound fight for him. Or if we kind of want to keep him going on these higher level competition, let's let him fight Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo, wanted to fake a retirement so he could get more clout for his next fight, but let's give him Henry Cejudo. I think that would be an intriguing matchup. Henry Cejudo, good grappling, pretty well rounded, but I think that's winnable. But I also think it'd be a tough fight for him. Next fight I want to talk about is Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. Now, I was really rooting for Jack Della Maddalena because I picked him. I picked him perfectly. I picked round 3 TKO, which is exactly what happened. But this just made me sad, man. I mean, Gilbert Burns, he's been around for so long. He's been the who's who of the welterweight division for so long. He's had some banger fights. So, honestly, I think he may retire. And if he doesn't retire, then I think we need to give him a little bit of an easier fight. Like, let's give, I mean, you know what I think would be a good fight? Let's do Burns versus Ian Gary. I know a lot of people want to see Ian Gary versus Colby Covington. There's no way Colby Covington's going to fight Ian Gary. Colby Covington is scared shitless of Ian Gary. So let's do Gilbert Burns. He'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. Let's do Gilbert Burns versus Ian Gary. And if that doesn't work out and Colby Covington does want to fight Ian Gary, let's do Sean Brady. Grappler versus grappler. Let's see if Sean Brady can mitigate the wrestling and striking of Gilbert Burns. Or not really the striking, the power. And get a good win there. That'd give him pretty good boost in competition, I think. I think JDM proved he was a top 5 welterweight tonight. Gilbert Burns, yeah, he's old, but he still fights like he's in his prime. I mean, there's something going on with him. He's seriously probably on the juice or something, I like the Shavkat call out. I like the Shavkat call out. called out Shavkat Rakhmonov. He wants to fight him. They're really close together in the rankings. I imagine he'll be, even closer after this win over Burns. And I think it's an intriguing fight. Both guys have crazy good, striking. Um, Obviously, JDM's a little bit of a better striker than Shavkat, but Shavkat, he's just he's a savage. And honestly, like, if Gilbert Burns is taking you down, like, if Shavkat can get you to that position, you're getting submitted. So let's wait till Shavkat's hand is healed up. Let's wait till, let's give Jack Del Madeleine a little bit of time off. Let's book that, again, late summer, maybe early fall at the latest. I'd love to see that fight. I think that'd be a banger matchup. So let's book that fight. Michael Venom Page versus Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, oh my God, dude. What happened to you? I mean, in my prediction video, I quite literally said, he has no fight IQ, or he just doesn't even try. It's one of the two. He could have won the fight against JDM if he didn't fight so dumb. But I mean, I just think Kevin Holland, it may be time for him to hang it up, I know a lot of fans like him because he takes fights on short notice, but he always loses, and I think it may be time for him to leave the division, or at the very least, or the UFC, or at very least the division. Sorry, but if he does decide to stick around, I mean, let's just try to give him like another veteran of the sport. I mean, Kevin Holland's not really a veteran, but you know what I mean. Someone who's been around for a while. Let's give him Jeff Neal. I know that's gonna sound like, whoa, you're trying to end his career, but I mean, it's just, what else do we do at this point? Both of them are coming off a loss. I was surprised to see Jeff Neal was lower than him in the rankings. So let's just do Jeff Neal versus Kevin Holland if he does want to stay around, or maybe he's gonna fill in for some random welterweight or middleweight bout where someone falls out, and he's just going to get a paycheck. Half the time he fights, he's just looking for a paycheck. He doesn't even try as hard as. So maybe time for him to retire. As for MVP, I think his striking looked incredible. He totally outclassed Kevin Holland every single round. Was landing crazy techniques on him, and he's got good shot selection, good precision. I was a little worried watching him. Like, he's just got his hands way down by his waist, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, like, you're gonna get caught. But he rose to the occasion. He beat Kevin Holland fairly easily. So let's do Michael Venom Page versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I don't want to give him a super well-rounded fighter yet, because I imagine his grappling isn't incredible, and he could probably easily get out grappled. So I think we should get some good fun fights with MVP in first. Let's do MVP versus Wonderboy. MVP took no damage in this fight. Let's do it soon. Let's do it like, late spring, early summer. I think that'd be a good time for that fight. And I think the welterweight division is shifting a lot after these fights with JDM and Gilbert Burns and Michael Venom Page and, Kevin Holland. So I think, the welterweight's gonna see some people coming and going, and it's sad, but also at the same time pretty cool to see the new blood in the sport. Next fight I want to talk about, clearly the co-main event, Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis, easily fight of the night. Excuse me. Dustin Poirier got the second round TKO in a competitive fight. Actually, very competitive fight. This fight went exactly as I thought. I thought, it was going to be competitive, but I thought DP was going to, show the levels in the boxing and the striking, maybe get taken down a couple times and get up, and that's pretty much exactly what happened. I did imagine it was going to last longer. I think I said like fourth round TKO or something for, sorry, just blank, for Dustin Poirier, but I mean, what a performance from Dustin Poirier. And honestly, what a performance from Benoit Saint-Denis. He looked like a savage in there. Considering he stepped up from fighting Matt Favola to Dustin Poirier, I still think he's one of the most elite fighters in the division. I think people are going to be like, well, Benoit Saint-Denis is a fraud. He lost to Dustin Poirier. Listen, Dustin Poirier is the elite of the elite. He's only lost to the elite of the elite. So I think, Benoit Saint-Denis is headed in a good direction. I want to see DP ultimately fight probably the loser of Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira if he decides to stick around. I honestly think this would be a good time for Poirier to retire. He's not getting any younger. I think he probably will stay around, but I think this is just the perfect time for Dustin Poirier to make his way out of the division, right off into the sunset, so to call it. And I mean, Benoit Saint-Denis, let's do Benoit Saint-Denis versus like Jalen Turner or someone. I know Jalen Turner just got a fight booked, but Benoit Saint-Denis just got TKO'd. He's going to need some time off. So, depending on when that fight takes place, let's try to and how the fight pans out. I think that'd be a crazy matchup. I think the length and the accuracy of Jalen Turner versus the marauder like style of Benoit Saint-Denis and the grappling and the submission game. I think that would be a crazy fight, and I'd love to see that fight. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously some movement in the lightweight division too. I think Dustin Poirier is probably headed on his way out, if I had to guess, and I think Benoit Saint-Denis is on the rise. So I was impressed with both guys in that fight. Um, yeah, I'd love to see Benoit Saint-Denis turn around. Maybe 6, 7 months from now. I know that's a lot of time to take off, but when you're as young as Benoit Saint-Denis, you can take some time off and improve your game and come back in there and really show your improvements. Next up, the last fight I want to talk about, the main event, Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera. Complete masterclass from Sean O'Malley. I was honestly so shocked that Vera was able to take all those shots. I mean, I know he has an iron chin, but oh my God. I mean, that knee was gnarly. I mean, for a second there, I thought a tooth might have been knocked out until I saw the replay and saw it was just spit. But oh my God. I mean, Sean O'Malley's striking looked incredible in this fight. Looked better than we've ever seen it. Um, but there is one thing I hate about this result, and that's that Sean O'Malley and the UFC are going to want to pick the easiest matchup for them. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but that's Ilia Topuria. I know Ilia Topuria would probably KO Sean O'Malley, but here's the thing about that fight. There's nothing on the line. He'd be going up and challenging, a higher weight class champion. If he loses, he'd be like, oh, well, I lost to the higher weight guy and, I didn't lose my belt or anything. So he'd still be able to go down and defend his belt again. So there's really no risk involved. And, he's not going to have to fight Marab or Corey Sandhagen or Piotr Jan again. So I think what I would personally want to see is obviously Marab getting a title shot. Leaps and bounds ahead of everyone for deserving a title shot. And I don't want to hear, oh, Marab, he did turn down the title shot. He was never offered a title shot. By the time he was offered a title shot, O'Malley versus O'Malley versus Sterling was already, he was never offered a title shot. By the time people think he was offered a title shot, O'Malley versus Sterling was already signed and booked. So I think, what you do next is Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. And I said earlier, I think Vera versus Jan would be the move. I think, that'd be a great matchup. I think, if Jan can win that fight, then he's definitely, going to have to fight someone for the #1 contender spot. So either way, this card was crazy. I think there's going to be a lot of different changes in the divisions and overall landscape of the UFC. I think we're going to see guys coming and going. I think we're going to see, some of the legends of the sport leave, which is going to be sad, but also, I think we're going to see some savages come up in the rankings, MVP, BSD, Mikel Pereira, Jack Della Maddalena. I mean, all these guys have huge amounts of potential. Maybe not MVP, but you know what I'm saying. And I just think, it's kind of really sad. I mean, the thing is about this sport, and we all have to look at this, because if we have to be a fan of the sport, we have to realize the good and the bad. I don't know that all these fighters are going to be on their way out. Like RDA, for example, I don't think he was ever paid that much. And the sad thing is these guys, all they know is fighting, so they have to go out and try to find something else to do or some other way to make money. And I know a lot of them start their own businesses and stuff. Like Poirier will be just fine. He's got all his businesses and social media and marketing, but I worry about some of these other guys like Gilbert Burns, and it's just it's a tough sport to compete in. And then once you're done, you're done. And what are you going to do then? This is all these guys have known since their early 20s, or maybe even younger. Most of them even younger, sometimes as early as 6 years old. Like some of these guys, they truly don't know anything out of it. So I do worry about them. But overall, this card was incredible. I think we're going to see a lot of changes going forward. And, let me know if you want more videos like this or what other kind of videos you want. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you later.